Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is George and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Mashle, Magic and Muscles Season 2, Episode 10. So, why did I think about this week's episode? Honestly, I think this week's episode was fantastic, and one of the reasons was because I felt like this week's episode was a roller coaster of emotions from an emotional standpoint, as well as we got to see a lot of, action set pieces with, between Innocent Zero and Mr. Wahlberg. And we also get a big character insight of Wahlberg and what he's like. And, we get a lot of just character background on this guy. And, you really fall in love with this guy. And you realize this guy is such a caring old man and you just can't help but to love him. So I think this week's episode did a great job at pretty much making you care for this guy and pretty much what happens to him later in the episode. Now, before I go any further with this week's episode, I just want to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my anime and manga, as well as all my Mashle, Magic, and Muscles content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really, really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into this week's episode. So this week's episode starts out in a pretty funny manner, where you see pretty much Ryu, one of the divine visionaries, the light one, the guy that's always saying hot stuff. He finally shows up at the battlefield, and even the narrator is like, wow, it took this guy 2 episodes to get here. And that was funny. Even he talks about it like, hey, as he talks to like the little henchman guy, the big guy with the little guy with the afro. He's like, hey, Mr. Ryu, who are you talking to? He's like, don't you get it? You're supposed to narrate before the narrator. That's what makes you hot stuff, man. Like, some nonsense. It was just a funny little like stupid humor. But once they get there, you see that force field that Innocent Zero had, where everybody gets, frozen in time, where if you're pretty weak, which is pretty much what that intern guy is. So he gets automatically turned, he stops time on that. And then Ryu keeps going down. He eventually sees the other divine visionaries, and like Caldo and whatnot. And they're talking to us like, oh, like, what happened to Mushroom Head? And you just see Mash just eating his cream puff. He's just chilling. He's like, yeah, he's fine. He was able to defeat one of the henchmen of Innocent Zero. And they're like, whoa, that's impressive. That's cool. You're really hot stuff. He loves that word. It's so funny, though. And pretty much what happens is that they're like, okay, where's the Wahlberg guy? And he's like, oh, he's somewhere else. We don't know where he's at, but he teleported himself somewhere else. So then we see pretty much Mash is like, okay, I got this. I'm going to go find the guy. And you see him running. And like, they're like, how is he going to sense him? He has no magic powers to sense. He's just running he's just running to run, I guess. And so you see Mash get out of the picture. But you see pretty much one of the divine visionaries, the sand one. He's like, okay, I'm going to interrogate this guy and get all the information we can of Innocent Zero. And while he's trying to do that, like, a force field shows up. And this force field is not allowing him to, like, attack him or anything. And pretty much they jump into the conclusion, thanks to Macaron, where they're like, there has to be somebody here that's protecting him. So we got to find this guy before we can even go forward with any sort of action. So they're, dealing with that, so they can't interfere with the fight because they're dealing with that in the battleground. And while that's happening, we catch back with Wahlberg and Innocent Zero's fight, and it's pretty epic. They're having a back and forward, and eventually, like, Innocent Zero lands like one of his spells on Wahlberg, and it's like this clock thing where you see like a clock kind of like spawn next to Wahlberg, and it's like time, it's frozen or something like that. Oh no, he's accelerating time. There you go. And what happens is he gets hit in the arm and the face, half of his face. And that starts accelerating at a rapid pace, and you see it all decrepit and like old, whatever. And Wahlberg says, screw it, I'm gonna keep fighting. And my man has like, he goes beast mode, because you see like Wahlberg just slashing everything. He's like, I will just keep slashing till it works. And you see like his eyes get wide. It's all like, he's going like a ravage beast. Like, that was really cool to see, because he's always very chill and composed. But no, my man let loose. But no matter what he did, it still didn't work, because Innocent Zero was still fine. And not just that, Innocent Zero manages to land another hit on Wahlberg in that same spot, and his arm gets blown off. So Wahlberg's arm is gone, and pretty much, when Innocent Zero is just talking crap, it's like, you gave up, like, you could have been so much powerful if you just like, just became like myself, like, live for your own sake instead of protecting other people. And Wahlberg's like, there's no way. And then we cut to a flashback where you see Wahlberg talking about like his sensei, and how Wahlberg himself, he used to be very like shut in, and he was very like a very a kid that would keep it to himself, and like he really didn't go to school. He didn't like going to school. He hated like going out like to school. He didn't have any friends. So he himself was like, you know what, like, I don't want to be associated with people. I don't want to make no friendships or anything because I don't want to get hurt. And what eventually happened is, thanks to, you know, his sensei, he was able to, you know, change his entire outlook in life. And, you know, it's thanks to his sensei keep bugging him, whether Wahlberg wanted it or not. You know, he kept showing up to Wahlberg's like room and talking to him and befriending him. And eventually that grew to be, you know, Wahlberg's whole personality, you know, where he took a lot of inspiration from his sensei, you know, and the kindness of his heart and why not. And I thought that was a really nice touch and gave you some character into Wahlberg and, you know, some insight in what he used to be like back in the day. You know, he wasn't always this, you know, gentle giant. You know, he used to be like a little, you know, keep to himself and shy, but then eventually, you know, thanks to his master, you know, he was able to become the great man that he is today. And thanks to that, you know, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go all out. Screw this. I gotta take you down, Innocent Zero. And what does he? He proceeds to activate his like third spells, like, you know, where you summon your wand, the wand itself can be summoned, and and how this spell works is that he literally teleports like Innocent Zero and himself to like another dimension. And I guess in this dimension, because Innocent Zero tries to attack him, and like, you know, one Wahlberg gets counterattacks it and like teleports his magic anywhere. So from my understanding is, in this dimension, every magic gets like absorbed, I guess, or something like that, along those lines, where like it nullifies and transports any sort of magic. So Wahlberg's preparing to use this ultimate attack, where it would probably delete Innocent Zero from what Wahlberg says, and he summons like, you know, this big like statue thing in the background. That's his wand, the god of the fly or whatever, the skies, whatever it was. And this wand, you know, he's about to unleash this power and it's charging it up. And right when looks like he's about to, you know, use it and unleash it, time freezes. And you see that pretty much Innocent Zero was able to freeze time. We don't know how. Well, he explains that, you know, only he himself can freeze time. Nothing else can freeze time itself. So he's able to freeze time, and pretty much right as Wahlberg is frozen in time, he attacks him with some of his arrows, his time arrows, and he stabs Wahlberg, and Wahlberg's injured badly. You know, he's fatally wounded, and we see that he, you know, time starts resuming again, and Wahlberg's like, you know what, like, screw this. I don't care what I have to do. I will take you down, because I need to do this not for just my own sake. I gotta do this for the future, you know. And it reminded me a lot of Naruto with the third Hokage, where it's like the will of fire, you know, for the next generation. He's trying to pave the way for the next generation. And while he proceeds to do that, he uses this magical, like, it's like a nuke that he uses, and it's like a big blast. And he doesn't care whether he dies or not. He's very fine for, like, he doesn't really have any regrets. As long as he can protect the people that he cares for, and, you know, and these people can live on, then he will be doing a good job. So he unleashes this big nuke, and you see people all around, like, you know, the world being shocked, because they realize, like, okay, this is bad. Like, all the divine visionaries, they realize, like, if Wahlberg uses this attack, that means that he's really in trouble, and he must either be dead or gone or whatever. So this is, you know, they're all pretty sad about it. And what happens is, to the shock of everybody, he's not dead. And it seems like that spell was undone, even though Wahlberg was ready to sacrifice himself. And it seems that time was rewinded or something like that, along those lines, by Innocent Zero. And while that's happening, Innocent Zero takes, you know, advantage of it and starts, you know, like, attacking Wahlberg, and Wahlberg gets eventually caught up, and he's lifting Wahlberg by the head. He's like, you're pathetic, like, you're gonna die. I'm gonna kill you right now. You're a disgrace. Like, yeah, like, Wahlberg, you really gave it your all, but you're nothing to me. And he's about to, like, kill Wahlberg, and you see Wahlberg crying, because he's like, I guess my ideals were really that easy and fragile, but, like, I gave it my all, but I guess it still wasn't enough. And you see Wahlberg, like, you know, he's sad, and he's about to die. And who steps up to save the day? My man Mash. My man Mash shows up, gives Innocent Zero a nasty kick to that face, and Innocent Zero gets rocked. And then Mash ends the episode with an epic line of him being like, you know, you told me back then in the first exam that, you know, what would you do if you faced an unamountable, like, amount of magic, like something insane amount of magic power? And I just said, I'll beat it with my fist. So he's ready to fight Innocent Zero. Can't wait to see it. This episode was fantastic. I loved it. And I can't wait to see what happens in next week's episode, because it seems like Mash is going to fight Innocent Zero. So we're about to see an epic fight, you know, that we haven't seen up to this point in the story, which I'm very, very much excited for. But with all that being said, what did you guys think about this week's episode? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was alright? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more martial magic and muscles, as well as more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with all that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.